Wasabi guys, welcome back to another weekly warnings video. That's what we've decided to call the series, and I apologize in advance if I sound a little bit quiet this week, suffering from a little bit of insomnia. This week is actually a lot better than the previous one, and certainly better than 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago being probably the worst that I've ever seen in doing this market series. We don't have as much to really talk about when it comes to market manipulation, which is a good thing. I think the fewer market manipulation stories we have, the better off we're going to be, and the more positive things we get to talk about. First one is Seasoned Dungeoneer. Now, this is not market manipulation. We'll get to it in a minute as to what is exactly happening. But overall, a bulk rare from Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate. Ultimately, my mind goes straight to Commander and where it could possibly see play. Maybe, who knows, there is a new commander from the Brothers' War, but that is not the case. It doesn't really seem like there's anything that's brand new that's immediately taking advantage of this. Going over to TCG Player, you can see for yourself there is a very limited total number of listings. You have some sellers with a pretty large inventory, but overall, you're not going to have an easy time finding something below $7. The next card is White Plume Adventurer. Yet another white card involving the Initiative. Another card from Battle for Baldur's Gate that is seeing a pretty significant increase. So I have to check the sales, because this is a second white card that's involving the dungeon, the initiative, and I know it couldn't possibly be because of anything new introduced for Commander. Then I see this, I see quantities of 4, which is a dead giveaway that this is probably Legacy related, and sure enough it is. Both of these cards are seeing play in mono white prison decks for Legacy. So in this recent event, you had a first place deck that featured 4 copies of each. Kind of the good warning. It's a change of pace from what we're used to, but still a bit of a warning because I don't want people to look at these cards and think, is the interest Commander related? This is a Commander Legends set. It would lead a lot of people to believe, well, maybe it's Commander related. Just know that before the Impact and Legacy, both of the cards were under $1 each. Pretty much bulk rares. Next one here, again, it's not necessarily market manipulation, but Crypto Thrall is one I'm going to warn against. I like the card, I think it's a good card for what it does, but it does seem rather inflated. Other artifact creatures you control having hexproof is not bad, but it's not really far off from what Padim can offer you, and Padim has never really been an expensive card. You see a lot of price fluctuations with sets like these, although it is a premium veneer for sets like the Secret Layers. I think that's exactly what's going on here with the Warhammer 40k crossover. I'm sure there's this expectation with a lot of collectors. When you get cards like these, are they ever going to reprint them? They might become harder to find for that reason. But even if you were to just look at the card, I don't think it's good enough to be anything more than a $5 rare. And that's not me speaking for the market. The market can do whatever it wants. To me, is this really worth more than $5? No. And that's ultimately the point of this series. It's not just going to warn you against the scams. It's not going to just warn you against the market manipulation. It's going to warn you against what I personally feel is not good value for the dollar. And I get people from Europe who say, why don't you talk about card market? I don't talk about card market because I'm not European. I'd have no reason to use it. And when I talk about the Big Four being the Big Four American companies, Hasbro, Wizards of the Coast, eBay, and TCG Player, those 4 have a stranglehold over the game that the card market doesn't even come close to. Next, we have Nautiloid Ship. It's another Battle for Baldur's Gate card. This one is maybe the first market manipulation example, but it's kind of what we expect now. We expect to see some ridiculous sales, and you see that on the 20th and the 21st. You see $19 and $18. It could be a fun card to throw into a vehicle deck, but I don't really see it being anything more than that. And next, we have another card, another impactful card in Legacy. Again, it's a Warhammer 40k crossover card. So just understand a lot of people are still not going to accept this card. They're still not going to accept the crossover in general. I personally never had an issue with it. It's not the idea of a crossover that I think is the problem. It's the theme that you're crossing over with, and also how often you're willing to do a crossover. If this was something that happened every other year, I think people would be a lot more open to it. And Warhammer's not really that far off from the fantasy that we expect in Magic the Gathering. This is actually going up because of Legacy. So this seems to be Legacy week. Shooting up well above 20 now, as will pretty much anything if it sees play in control decks, which it makes sense. It's a miracle cost of 2. For a 5/5 lifelink creature, those are good stats for the mana in Legacy. Has a good death trigger that can set up your next Triumph of St. Catherine miracle cost. So I really like that. But again, this is another warning that's more or less just to say, don't get it. If you're following me because of Commander, I usually recommend cards for Commander. If you have these and you don't play Legacy, then now's your time to sell. Now we get to talk about some market manipulation. Again, we get Seagate. This going up to 3, it's not so much that Seagate isn't worth $3, it's that the rare gate from the same set, literally called Baldur's Gate, is less than half of what it says its market price is. So that doesn't add up for me. It's also just not that great. I understand if you want another gate, but it's just the blue one. $3 for a common land that enters the battlefield tapped. You can do so much better. Then we have Shaper's Sanctuary from Ixalan, another card that's seeing some interest because of a non-commander format. This is very surprising to see because we're entering a point where there is a lot of frustration with the game. So me seeing that there is interest in other formats, not just commander, but we have Pioneer this time. We had Legacy earlier. This going up to a decent $3 to $5 is likely because it's seeing some sideboard play in Pioneer decks. You could see it with Angels, you could see it with Bant Spirits. It's only 1 green mana, and I've liked it in Commander as well. You're not really risking much, and you have the potential to gain some card draw. Last card to talk about is Jetmir's Garden from Streets of New Capenna. One of those Triumph lands, and it's, solid if you know they're all pretty good for searchability. It did, however, shoot up overnight, which is kind of a red flag for me. Checking the sales, you see exactly why it did. On the 22nd, it sold for $98. And as some viewers have pointed out, in checking the sales for other cards, whenever you see something like this, you'll be checking a couple days after the fact. For me, it is the morning of the 23rd. And you may notice that the sales here, or at least the recorded sales, have been deleted. We don't know if that's TCG Player noticing that there's suspicious behavior, or that they're just trying to put a band-aid over something hoping that people don't catch on. It could be a little bit of both. It doesn't have to be one or the other. But overall, not a bad week. Definitely much better than 2 weeks ago. Wish we saw some more influence with Commander. We just have the Brothers War. I would like to see some more influence because of that, but I'll take what I can get. Anything that's not just constant TCG Player, what the hell are you doing? I hate making videos where it's just nothing but that. So I hope you enjoyed it. Again, sorry I was a little bit more quiet for this one. Commander Void here signing off. I will see you all next time.